Hey everyone, finish watching the next episode of the Power Rangers Reversion, Power Ranger Punks. The Rangers are out playing volleyball, typical day, but Babu has an idea to ruin it. He's at work making a punk potion. He rides Rita's flying bike to the Rangers' location and sends out some putties to distract them while he pours the potion into some drinks. The putty fight is full of quick cuts like it's a Hollywood movie that doesn't want the audience to actually follow what's going on. I think this was something the original episode did. It was some kind of dumb workaround for complaints of violence. Babu pours the potion and we actually see it along with a newly added text effect. This makes me wonder why back in Foul Play in the Sky, a similar scene of Squat pouring a potion into a drink was cut. The instance here couldn't possibly have been an oversight since they added an effect to it. They go out of their way here to draw attention to the scene. So I'm left to assume that the scene from Foul Play in the Sky was merely cut for time. I'll just say so far that that's the most egregious edit in the season so far. Back to the episode. Billy and Kimberly drink the poisoned drinks and suddenly get harsh attitudes. The others are dumbfounded and don't know how to react. Rita decides to capitalize on the situation by having Finster make a new monster. The next day at school, Billy and Kimberly come dressed like stereotypical punks, push kids around, and make nuisances of themselves. Kimberly asks Skull on a date, and Billy threatens Bulk. Their friends have no idea what's going on. Zordon and Alpha see over the viewing globe what's happening and teleport the Rangers to the command center. The viewing globe shows the Rangers Babu poisoning their drinks. Zordon deduces the only cure is the singing squash, and we see a younger Zordon fighting past putties to acquire it. This scene blew my mind as a kid. I wanted to see more of Zordon before he was just a head in a tube. Unfortunately, the series just never explored that era further. Even in comics, this remains unexplored. Paper Cuts had a comic that featured a modified retelling of Zordon and Rita's past, inspired by their backstory from the fan club video and several books. For whatever reason, Zordon was replaced with the vegetable-headed Rootin' Tumen. His body is clearly based off of Barza, Zordon's Zyuranger counterpart, which is the character used to depict him pre-tube in this episode. I don't know why Paper Cuts changed Zordon to this new character who's a reference to the character Zordon is based off of and depicted as. Boom's comics had extensive stories with Zordon, but completely ignored any influence from Barza and just made their own basically original character. In my art, I almost always depict Zordon as having appeared like Barza before Rita trapped him in the time warp. It's such a quickly passed by scene, but it had a big impact on me and really inspired my imagination. Back to the episode, the new Terror Toad monster is revealed. The Rangers go into battle only to be overwhelmed and discover its ability to eat them one by one. Alpha, meanwhile, is sent to retrieve the singing squash himself. As he leaves, Kimberly calls Zordon a big green geekoid. Zordon is referred to as green a few other times in media, and I never understood why. He's light blue. The closest to green he could possibly be considered is turquoise. Years after I first saw this episode came the Lost episode. This was what Fox Kids called their special showing of one of the MMPR pilots. In this pilot, Zordon, or Zoltar, is indeed green. I wonder if Power Ranger Punks was written early on enough that the writers didn't know Zordon's color was going to change. Alpha gets the squash after fending off some putties. This was another big moment. At this point, Alpha had never been involved in the action before. He'd barely left the command center. Alpha creates an antidote for Kim and Billy. This turns them back to normal. Billy looks at himself and quickly yanks his pants up. He'd been wearing them low with his boxers exposed, like a gangster rapper. A Blue Ranger being modest happens in the upcoming Samurai, too. Zordon tells them that only Kim's arrows can defeat the Terror Toad by firing at his weak spot on his neck. Once they're in battle, Kim says, "Look at his neck, I bet that's his weak spot." Maybe in the original script, Zordon doesn't flat out tell them what the weak spot is, just that it has one. It kind of reminds me of Jungle Fury's tendency to over-explain things for the audience. Shockingly, the scene of Kim firing multiple arrows into Terror Toad is kept. There's no blood, but this definitely seems like something Disney would want censored with the new effects. This frees the other Rangers, and Kim fires a final arrow, destroying the monster. At the juice bar, Skull shows up for his date with Kimberly, but she turns him down, and shenanigans ensue. Bulk and Skull end up tangled in a volleyball net. This always felt weird to me. I felt like Kim should have gone on the date. Skull isn't being rude or anything until after she rejects him. As far as he knows, she's just been screwing with him for no reason. That would make her the bully in this case. I understand Kim wasn't in her right mind when she asked him on the date, but she could have handled the situation better. Maybe she doesn't remember what she did under the potion's influence, which would be the best explanation for her behavior here. This is a really good episode, but it's oddly placed. The Reversion places it after Green with Evil, but it's supposed to go before. Tommy's inexplicable absence is a bit distracting with how it's placed here. Maybe Disney wanted to get to the Green Ranger stuff faster, but in that case, why not skip some of the weaker early episodes like Teamwork or Oppressing Engagement? Mighty Morphin's episode order is pretty weird, as depending on how you're watching, it's completely different nearly every time. Most Region 1 DVDs are consistent with their own order, but then there's the German DVDs or the UK DVDs, and then there's air date order. Mighty Morphin was shot in a unique way, unlike most other shows. This resulted in there not being a traditional production order. Some shows will utilize production order, which results in contradiction in the continuity order. For example, characters appearing before their introduction. Power Rangers was changing as it went. No other show was like it, and the crew was still learning how to handle it. This makes continuity order a little weird because while there are events that indicate a point in time, there's also minor contradictions and inconsistencies. All of this provides a bit of leniency in what order these early episodes can be viewed in. I just realized I haven't mentioned the effects yet. They're pretty sparse this time, none really stand out. There's a commercial bumper previewing later scenes, but that's the only major commercial bumper I noticed. Maybe I'm just getting used to them. So that's it for this one, hope you enjoyed it. See ya.